Hello there. This is Susan Ward. I am the MTSSB consultant for the Bureau of Student Wellness under the New Hampshire Department of Education. And I want to thank you for joining me today in talking about ways to support your child emotionally at home. Obviously, with all of the changes that we're going through, we as adults are definitely feeling some anxiety or strain or stress emotionally, and that is also true of our children. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some ways to help support your child at home. The first thing we have to make sure we do is support ourselves first. So stressed adults can be ineffective in trying to reassure their children. So to emotionally support our children during this time, we need to make sure we're taking care of our own stress first. So trying to manage your own anxiety and not overshare, because our children take their cues from us. And children rely on parents to keep their environment safe and secure. So even if we're feeling anxious, we need to make sure they're feeling safe. And we really need to make sure we have the capacity to take care of them. And that really means that we have to take care of us. So monitoring our own behavior and, making sure we're staying connected to emotional supports, whether that be family or friends, our community, getting enough sleep if possible, and making sure we're being physical, engaging in activities that are bringing us some wellness. And then if those things are not working, definitely seeking the help of a professional mental health provider and, making sure you're getting the help you need so that you can be supporting yourself first. One of the things I think is important is to keep a daily routine. So that might look like getting your children out of bed and ready for like a school day as if they were going to school, and then setting up their day so that maybe it's shower, breakfast, starting remote learning, taking a break, having lunch, more remote learning, contacting other kids on screen time or through technology, and then maybe some time for physical activities, some technology free time, and then maybe a set bedtime every single night, and keeping that structure because our children really do thrive on structure and routine and knowing what to expect. One of the things we're going to see is our children really exhibiting their feelings. So they've encountered a loss, and that loss may be different depending on the age of the child or your child specifically. So some children have lost being able to attend social functions or groups after school, sports, plays, the loss of upcoming prom, the loss of maybe graduation in June. So their loss is definitely valid, and they are looking at it against their own lifetime and their own experience, where we as parents, we're looking at through a different lens. We're seeing it in our own lifetime and our own past experiences. So if we're feeling like it may not be as big of a deal as they're making it, it really is a big loss for them. So really making sure you affirm their and normalize their feelings. And, something like, I can see this is really upsetting, and I can see that you're really having a hard time coping with this loss and disappointment. And it's okay to feel this way. And then supporting and making sure our children know that we're here to listen and we're here to have conversations and talk through this. And then empathizing, wow, this is really hard. I can imagine this must be really disappointing to be missing the stuff that you should have been doing right now. And that's really going to be helpful for our kids to know we understand and can come to us with these emotions and issues. And we do need to provide information to our kids. If we withhold information, they're not going to know what's going on. It causes more stress and anxiety. But the way we provide information is going to look different depending on the age of our child. So information we give to a 5 or 6-year-old is going to sound very different than the information we're giving to our teen. So if you're dealing with an older child who might have access to the internet or conversation with friends, find out what they're learning and hearing about the COVID-19 situation. We want to make sure they're getting the accurate information and just clarifying any information that may be incorrect. And then making sure you're available to answer questions and having these conversations. And if you have a child that's anxious, you may want to limit your child's exposure to the media coverage if you have the TV or media on. Any adult discussions where you may be really worried or stressed out, if you're on the phone with a parent or a loved one and having these discussions, if our children can hear this, they're going to know that how stressful the situation is, and this can definitely add to their stress as well. Self-efficacy in children. So self-efficacy is being capable of accomplishing a behavior or developing a competency. And when our children can do that, they really feel secure. They're adding self-esteem to their feelings. They're in more control. So if they can play a role in helping families or others in different aspects, they're going to definitely feel more in control and more like a handle on the situation or their stress. So letting them do different things around the house that might help. And then distractions. We all need these distractions. So any kind of change in routines, which we've all had, the change in our life, we're really going to need to create some distractions from the stress that we're feeling, that they're feeling. So having a family game night, cooking together, allowing some leeway with technology, but within reason. So if our kiddos are using technology to get in touch with their friends and that's how they're communicating with their classmates, obviously we want them to stay connected and not isolated. So we may be a little more forgiving in that sense. And then have fun with some of these new life skills. If you're getting kids cooking in the kitchen with you, try to make it fun. Try to make it kind of an exciting little adventure. And that's good for us as well. So, and that could be anything. These are just a few ideas, but you can definitely be creative with how you want to do that. And then a lot of our kids will see they'll be dysregulated. Their bodies are, they're stressed, their bodies activate their stress response systems. And so sometimes our children don't know how to regulate their own emotions. So helping them learn how to do that is important so they can participate in using their coping skills when they're becoming upset. So having them practice activities like mindfulness or breathing exercises, and being able to say, this is really a good time to use those coping skills when they're starting to become stressed. Making sure they're staying in routines, getting enough sleep, getting enough food, or eating it regularly, and healthy food, and then making sure their basic needs are provided. When they start to not have their basic needs provided, that causes a whole other area of stress. So it's really important that we make sure we're teaching them those skills, but also being mindful of what we need to provide. And looking at mental health. So if you're seeing some major changes, yes, definitely some experiences and some of these experiences are going to cause some anxiety, some frustration. We're going to see our kids' behavior change, their mood change. But if you start to see some major ongoing patterns that you feel really concerned about, check in with your mental health provider, the pediatrician, if possible, a professional mental health provider. For example, nightmares that continue, a major aggression in your child. We might see some regression in some younger kids that might do some bedwetting or not using the toilet the appropriate way if they've already learned how to do that. And I think it's normal for that to happen. At the same time, if it continues to be a pattern, that's something we want to make sure we look at. And then, of course, self-harm. Any kind of self-harm, we really need to make sure we're reaching out to our mental health specialists for that. And forgiveness. I want to touch on forgiveness for a little bit because things are going to be and have been difficult, and things are going to feel messy. when we're trying to figure out how to navigate something we've never navigated through before. And our kids are going to feel off and upset and emotional, and we are too. So if they're trying to adjust and we're trying to adjust, forgive yourself when you have a rough day. Forgive yourself when things don't go the way you wanted. Reach out for supports to know you're not alone. This is a very trying time for everybody, and we're not always going to get it right, and we're certainly not always going to get it right every day. But just forgive yourself and know later can be different. Tomorrow is a new day, and we can start over. So just be kind to yourself, and please reach out to us at the Bureau of Student Wellness for any extra information you may need, for any resources. And I just want to thank you so much for watching and really appreciate your time.